Hello class, I have finally updated your syllabus, at least for the most part. So I want to go through these syllabus changes with you. The syllabus will be uploaded shortly on Blackboard in the syllabus section. So this is what I call the COVID-19 105 P13 syllabus. So this is for the rest of the semester. I have put the changes in purple. So let's start here with office hours. So email me to set up a virtual meeting. I don't know exactly how to do this. I mean, I have FaceTimed before, but I'm going to try to figure out how to use Zoom through Blackboard. So if you do need to have a virtual meeting, let me know and I will get on that. In the list of things that I need to accomplish right now, at least getting the syllabus out was my second priority. I said my first priority was getting out the lecture that I already posted. So anyway, just contact me through email if you want to set up a virtual meeting and we'll try to make it work. Okay, and then this class no longer meets in person. That's for the rest of the semester, but there will be lectures posted by 10:30 on Mondays and Wednesdays. So I suggest that you keep your Monday and Wednesday class time routine, and of course you can watch the lectures as soon as they are posted. If you want to work ahead, give yourself a little bit of a buffer. But if you need some consistency, then on Mondays and Wednesdays at 10:30, sit down in front of YouTube and watch the lectures, which you can, of course, pause as needed. The final exam, we don't have a final exam schedule anymore. That's just all been thrown out. So I did keep it still 10 a.m. to 12:45 p.m. Wednesday, April 29th, because this is what the final exam schedule said. And it's possible that I may still have a synchronized test 3 and a synchronized final exam. I'm working on the details for that. There were a variety of options given to us for how we can handle testing going forward. So our first test, though, or our next test, the test that comes up next, is going to be later in April. So that gives me a little bit of time to figure this out. But just expect that I will get back to you on the details for test 3 and the final exam. Okay, so the rest of this page is the same, and now I'm going over here. So let's see the big changes to homework. So I had posted on Blackboard just to get an idea of what students were thinking when it comes to written homework and how we should handle that, and I really molded over in my head because I want to provide you with the best possible education, and that means flexibility, but it also means accountability, and you need both. You need some amount of flexibility and you need accountability. So I've come up with a plan. Homework will still be in 2 parts. Part of the homework grade will come from my open math, and that won't change. And the other part is the written homework. So formally, let me scroll down here and let me show you what I'm talking about. So here is what is due on 3/25. This used to be what was due on 3/18. But it has your written homework. Your written homework is the 7.1 self-check question number 3, 7.1, 63, 65, 67 from the study set. There's some recommended problems, and then you had the 7.2. And this is all the written homework. So the written homework was everything that's from the textbook. That was part of your grade. That would be 10 points of this grade. And then the other 13 points of this grade came from the MyOpen Math. So the MyOpen Math homework 14 will still be required. That will still be 13 of the 23 points. But your other 10 points, it says here, see above for new alternatives to completing the written homework as assigned. So I now have 3 alternatives for you when it comes to the written homework. So option number 1 is that you do the same thing you were doing before. So what that means is that you would still handwrite all of these problems, the required ones, and you would then take pictures of them and send them as JPEG files to me, and I will give you feedback. I won't be able to write all over your homework, as I did when you handed it in to me in person, but I can type up some feedback for you and tell you, okay, on this problem, you needed to have done this instead of that. This is going to be harder for me to do because I'm going to be looking at the screen more, which is really hard on my eyes, and for some of you, I know you may have the same problem too. And it's also going to be a little more frustrating because the feedback that I can give you typed out isn't going to be as effective as the feedback that I could give you if I could actually write on your homework. So I am providing two other options, and I hope many of you will adopt the other two options. I think they might be better for some of you, and I also think that it could overall reduce the grading load. And I'm not doing this purely from a selfish motivation. I'm just trying to keep my hours still within the 10-hour time frame that I had set up for my family. And so to keep my work consistent with what it was before, I've tried to adapt this so that it's not going to be too overwhelming for me, and also not too difficult for you, because some of you are going to find it really frustrating to continue in the exact same way we were continuing. So let me go back to the homework policy here. Okay, so here we go in purple. Students now have 3 choices to earn full credit for their written homework. So options 2 and 3 that I'm about to go over will either be 0 credit or full credit. There's no in between. Option number 1 could still result in partial credit. So option number 1 is to complete the written homework as before spring break. Okay, that's what I just talked about. Option number 2 and 3 have 2 components. That's why there's an and, okay? The first component is that you will email the instructor a math diary update. See below for instructions. So for both options 2 and 3, you send me a math diary. The second half of option 2 is to post one completely worked out but incorrect solution to an assigned written homework problem. And I will go over that in just a second. And then the other alternative is to be the first person to reply to another student's homework post with a mathematically correct explanation. So if you are in the boat where when you work on your homework, you often end up with your work all shown, but then you get to the end and you have an incorrect solution, option 2 might work well for you. If you are really understanding the material quite a lot and you're not making mistakes and you're quick to catch other people's mistakes, option 3 might work for you. Okay, so the instructions for written homework as before spring break, all of this in black here has not changed. Here's what's new. Students will take pictures of their homework and email them as JPEG files to dklangley@alaska.edu by 10:30 a.m. on the due date. Alright, now what is this math diary? Here we go. Instructions for math diary update. For each written homework, instead of submitting JPEG files of completed work, students will type a detailed summary of pages or examples read, written problems completed, supplemental sources studied, topics of confusion, etc. Okay, by detailed, I don't mean a really long list. This is going to be my example right here. For this assignment, I read 7.1, example 3, completed 7.1, 63, 103, 105, read 7.2, examples 4, 8, 10, completed 7.2, 15, 57 through 71 odd, 115, and watched some videos on YouTube to help me better understand rational exponents. I mostly understand these lessons, but I found simplifying cube roots confusing. Okay, so one thing I want to point out is if you look at the written assignment for 7.1 and 7.2, this does not completely match it. So this example one, this individual actually only looked at one of the examples that I had pointed out rather than a good number of them, but then chose to do some supplemental problems. In other words, this individual, and I'm giving this option to all of you, you create your own assignment. You create your own written assignment. You can use the assigned problems that I have given you. You can use the recommended problems that I have given you. Just come up with some assortment of problems that will be most helpful for you, okay? Now pay attention to this. The student's grade for the math diary will not depend on the quantity of work reported. So whether you report that you read 1 example or 100, whether you give me a short list or a long list, it will not affect your grade. In other words, you have no reason to lie or make up what you did. You just tell me the truth, okay? Instead, the diary will serve to inform the instructor of the student's study habits and be a source of accountability to the student. It's kind of like having a buddy that you report to with your workout habits. Yes, I did my 30 push-ups, but I didn't get off the couch to go for my jog because I was just too tired. And if your math diary says something like that, I'm not going to judge you for it. It will just be a report that both of us will have. And remember that when it comes to math, you really do reap what you sow. So the more you can practice effectively, the better off you will be for the assessments. So don't let this be a license for you to not do much work. You still need to do work. You need to do the work that you personally need in order to understand the material well. Okay, so that's half of it. So you can't just send me the math diary though. You have to do one other thing. And the one other thing is either post or reply. Okay? So it's either the diary and post or the diary and reply. So what are you posting? You're posting a completely worked out but incorrect solution. So let me go down here. Details for post 1 completely worked out but incorrect solution to an assigned written homework. Suppose that while working through the assigned written homework problems, you discover that your worked out solution is incorrect. I know that happens to some of you. And actually, all of you should check your answers in the back of the book, because some of you actually have worked out solutions incorrect, and you don't bother to check, and that's not good. So you need to check. Check your answers in the back of the book. What should you do? You should look back over your work and see if you can figure out your mistake for yourself. And ideally, you would then fix your mistake and move on. Whether you fix your mistake or not, you may also post a picture of your incorrect worked out solution, so I don't want the fixed version. Be sure to include the section number and the problem number in the assignment's discussion forum on Blackboard. Now ideally, this will be for students who can't figure out what they did wrong. But I'm not excluding the possibility that you do want to post one that you already know the answer to. So, that is possible. But ideally, it would be for students who looked back over their work and still can't figure out what they did wrong. This post, together with a math diary update, fulfills the requirements of the due date's written homework. Students are welcome to use the forum to post questions and also email the instructor all their work. So anytime you get stuck on a problem, if you want, you can post it in the forum. I will eventually reply. If nobody else is replying to you, I will reply. So that is by the due time. If no one else replies to you and explains to you what you did wrong, then I will do so. So you will get feedback, but it's also a way for me to be able to document that you actually are working on problems, okay? So that's option 2. You email me a math diary and you post one. You only have to do one, but you are welcome to do more than one. Completely worked out but incorrect solution. The other option is you send me the math diary and you're the first student to reply to another student's homework post with a mathematically correct explanation. So here it is. Details for be the first student to reply to another student's homework post. If you are the first student to reply to another student's homework post with a mathematically accurate explanation as to where the posting student made any mistakes and give reasonable guidance. Okay. And give reasonable guidance as to how to fix those mistakes, then this reply post together with a math diary update, fulfills the requirements of the due date's written homework. So you don't have to be the one to post a problem that is incorrect. You could catch somebody else's mistake, and by your reply post saying, hey, in line 3, when you multiplied 2 times 5, you got 15, and 2 times 5 is supposed to be 10. That's where you went wrong. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. You want to identify what the mistake is specifically and say how to fix that mistake. It could be, oh, you forgot to distribute the negative. This is what it would look like if you were to distribute the negative, and you could just type that up. Or if you prefer not to type up the explanation and you want to do a handwritten reply and then take a JPEG of your handwritten reply, you're welcome to do that too. But I think typing probably would be better for the reply. Anyway, students are welcome to reply to forum posts and also email the instructor all their work. Okay, so that's the big change right now, and that is to your homework. Hopefully, though, these options will give you greater flexibility. Now let's talk about quizzes. Instead of 17 timed online quizzes through the site myopenmath.com, there will now only be 15 quizzes. So I am cutting off the last 2 quizzes. We lost a whole week, right? So I had to figure out some way to deal with the fact that we lost a week, and one of the ways I handled that was the last 2 quizzes that we would have been truncated from this course. So when I had 17 quizzes and only 15 were counted, then each one was worth 1% of your grade. But now that we have lost those 2 quizzes, now that there will only be 15 quizzes, I am still dropping the lowest 2. So now only 13 quizzes will be counted. So each quiz is now worth approximately 1.15% of the semester grade, because the quiz category is 15%. Tests. I have not yet figured out what to do with tests. It's possible that I will have you all take the test at the same time with a video camera on so I can see you taking the tests. But the next test is in late April, so I am giving myself a little bit of time to come up with the best solution. Alright, now let's move up here to... Okay, here's the course calendar and outline. You see I added here the spring break extension due to COVID-19. Then everything just got pushed back a week, including Test 3. Test 3 used to be on April 13th, and now it's on April 20th. And so then what I did is there were 2 lectures that covered this material, and I just squashed them all into one lecture. And I realize that sounds intimidating, but I trimmed the homework considerably on these. What we'll do is we'll just do an abridged version of these lectures. These topics will be covered a lot more in college algebra, but I am still required to cover these topics, so I'm still going to cover them. And your homework will be a lot shorter, and you will not have any quizzes over this material, and you will not have any tests over this material, and to the extent that it shows up on the final exam, I will warn you. And we will only have one final exam review. I'm sorry that whole week of final exam review had to get cut into just one session, but that's the reality of everything getting pushed back. I did not want to squash together this whole section, because the 7.1 to 8.5 you need to be paced at a steady pace so that you don't drown. And that's why we only have one day of final exam review. And now the April 29th is not a hard and fast day. I'm going to figure it out. And as to what we're going to do for final exam review, since we don't have a review class, you will at least have MyOpenMath. So I will show you that below. Okay, so all the due dates have been updated now. So these due dates in this new syllabus are correct. That's 323, 325, so these are now the official due dates. So now you have your assignments all updated, and the quizzes are all updated. And I just need to go on to MyOpenMath myself and change the dates, but I will do that. I did want to show you, though, Test 3, details to be determined. And then let's go down here to oops, that's also supposed to say what the previous one said, and that is online and written homework due by 10:30. See above for new alternatives to completing the written homework as assigned. So I also need to fix that. This is the homework. This might look really intimidating, but don't freak out. Remember, there's no quizzes or tests on this information. And it's really streamlined. So it's one question here, one question here, one question here, one question here. I shorten things a lot. There's a lot of writing, but in the end, the homework's worth 29 points. So it did still come out to be an appropriate sized homework, even if I had to list it in a long format. And then there's no homework due on this day. There's just the recommendation that you do the practice parts on My Open Math for the final exam. And that is in lieu of doing any homework, so you can do those to the extent that you need them. And we will again talk about the final exam later. Course policy, I shorten the class rules considerably because you are not coming to class. Attendance, virtual attendance for test 3 and the final exam to be determined. We might still do that. Blackboard will be used for announcements, linked to lectures, discussion forums, posting of your grades, and possibly for other purposes. The Learning Resource Center, see post and announcements regarding changes to the LRC. And that's about it. Okay, so before I post this, I am going to make some edits for those couple of mistakes that I found. Please email me if you have any questions.